Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. It's really great you could do this on Sunday evening. And yeah, for people who haven't attended the first event, this whole Design WIP is just like a initiative that is still in process, it's still in work in progress. It's just like a monthly thing that we're planning to have to get the whole community together, to just uplift the collective spirit, to share work, to share design journeys, interesting projects, etc. And for that, today we have three presentations with us, four presenters. We're going to have Gunjan and Trisha, we're going to have Navneeth and Sushant presenting their interesting work or design journeys, or just part of their an inside look into their process and acts of just product design or development per se. And we're going to take questions in chat, and I'm going to be relaying it onto them after their presentations are done. We're going to have approximately around 10 minutes for each presentation and 5 to 10 minutes to take your questions, which you can freely keep putting into the chats as the presenters are presenting. And yeah, I think after that we'll have like a short ending note, and that'll be it. So I think we can start off with the presentations, and we will have Gunjan and Trisha beginning the first one, and we can have them give like a short introduction of themselves and of what the presentation is going to be about, and we can dive right into it.
I can just start off with introducing. All right, so we are going to be talking about our brand journey of Wayne Studio, and how we sort of came about the idea of starting up a sustainable label and just progressing through the things that we've done over the course of 2 years, and how we are sort of ideating during the whole entire COVID pandemic, and how things are shaping up for us. So yeah, Trisha, you can introduce yourself first.
Oh, hi, it's Trisha, and I think Gunjan, you have to start.
All right. Okay, so I'm Gunjan, and we are the creative directors of Wayne Studio. So as you can see, it is all things eco-conscious, ethical, and sustainable. Sustainability means a lot to us, when it not just in terms of production and consumption, but also how deeply rooted the ethical values are for us when it comes to a brand, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to being a creator. Sustainability as a concept for us, it expresses a relationship. When we came about the idea of starting up a label, so before that we had our individual stints in the design industry. We were working as designers for separate brand houses and labels. We sensed that there was a whole lot that was wrong in the industry, and we sort of came about the idea of working together, having a sustainable label, and creating something that is meaningful for us and for, of course, the world. So the core philosophy of Wayne Studio lies on redefining statement fashion and providing green, innovative solutions to our everyday problems with an aim to impact lives. So we see a lot of brands that can be like luxury, sustainable. The thing is that with fashion all over, we see that it's still not being matching up to the standards when it comes to social, environmental impacts, economic impacts. And we wanted to get in there and redefine fashion, not just as an aid to luxury, not just as an aid to being fashionable and expressing a statement, but having a green, innovative solution, having an ethical way to go about wearing clothes and expressing your best self.
So when it comes to inspiration, we try and take a holistic approach towards it. We get inspired by life experiences, conversations, and any lesson that we have learned on our journey. We incorporate it into the collection and into the little details and silhouettes. such as the drapes, the fabric, the color, binding, or just the general mood of the whole look. And yeah, that's how we get the inspiration. About the challenges, well, to be honest, being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. And right now in the industry, sustainability is still a term that is used as a marketing gimmick. And a lot of brands are just greenwashing their products, which makes it harder for genuine brands like us to make a sale. And the other challenge, well, I have to say, is the finance, because you need a lot of backing from an investor, or just have a lot of savings with you, because it's not just about the fact that you know you just make the clothes and market it. There's a lot that goes behind as a sustainable brand. It's not just about the fabric, it's about what goes into the product, and not about who how about you sell it. It's about who produce it. We make sure our materials are sourced ethically and no livelihood is endangered in the process. Other than that, be ready for interrogation, because you have to justify your prices a lot with the customer, and you have to educate them as well. Um, and more about it, that you have to self-educate yourself as well about what's a new fabric, and how you can solve some of the issues of sustainability. And you need to know how you have to market your product and how to showcase yourself on the social media. And yeah, you just need to be a multitasker at the end of the day.
When it comes to how we start from scratch, how we design how we design or curate our whole idea of a collection, we're going to just take you through a process quickly. We start from coming about an idea, a theme, or a concept behind a collection, where we gather images and inspiration from everything and anything around us. It can be people, places, experiences, conversations, and that we do through print and digital media. We come about and try to narrow out a collection story, which you can see right in front of you. This is one of our collection stories that we curated for our one of our collections back in 2018. We then move forward to finalizing silhouettes, designing probably like hundreds of silhouettes in one go, and we narrow it down to like 8 or 10, and making it like a properly curated, a limited edition collection with which revolves around a center theme. Moving forward to the construction stage, we then go out for sourcing ethical fabrics. Now, in terms of ethical fabrics, since the fabrics that we use are mostly handloom, handmade, and ethically generated and produced in India, since all our textiles are Indian, we also make sure that everything that we use is either cotton linens, cotton silks, pure linens, handloom linens, and we make sure that every single process of the making of a textile is also ethical. We mostly go to textile houses and see if they have any fabric leftovers or extras from them, and that's how we kind of ask them, if you have anything extra, just give it to us, since we do not want to buy stuff off the rack and just have a lot of stock with us. Make sure we have like cost-effective and environmentally conscious post-production practices as well, so that we're going to talk about in as and when we go forward. When it comes to sizes, we are ditching standard sizes that you may see in huge fashion houses like Zara, H&M, and whatever, because most of our stuff, most of our clothing is anti-fit and semi-fit. We do not go for body hugging and a garment that sticks to a body form. Our sizes mainly range from extra small to extra large, and even further. So even if you pick something out of our collection that is a medium, it can very easily fit you, even if you are a small or a large, since it's, also because the trend is also going forward to an oversized dynamic. And We want to make sure that you're comfortable, it's hassle-free, it's easy. Our fabrics, since they're handloom fabrics, it has a traditional weave to it. We make sure that it is sturdy and durable and lasts like for a really, really long time, because that's what sustainability is all about. We moving forward to the scouting locations and photo shoots.
So after the collection is done, we go to the photo shoot part. So we begin with looking for people to model our clothes. We ask around our friends and family, as we prefer real people to model for us. And then we scout for the location. And we prefer the outdoors with lots of natural light, as we steer away from using studio lights just to save energy. And we try to recreate a more raw and unfiltered story. Yeah, so here you can see the photo shoot of our borderline of fall collection, which was inspired by different personalities, introvert and extrovert. And then the song of the Happy Shepherd was inspired by the freedom of living countryside and just having a moment of freedom, basically. And then this was a zero waste edit, which is one of our favorite ones because we made it all out of scraps from our previous collections. The sari that you can see on the top left is made out of organic cotton and made out of a very, which dye was it, Gunjan? Do you remember?
Low impact dye.
No impact dye, yeah. It was a very beautiful sari, one of our bestsellers. Forward. Yeah, so after the photo shoot is done, we go ahead with the marketing of the products and we send out these press kits to people, influencers, friends, whoever believes in the similar ideologies like we do. And the other thing that helps with marketing is getting features in magazines and websites. So luckily we have been approached by two of the very good ones. One is the Cosmopolitan one, the one you can see it on the screen. And the other was a feature on LBB for all the sustainable work that we did, which was really cool. And yeah, Upper Shakti Khurana, our star. So we did a few styling events for him and on a very short notice of that. And it was a very surprise project and a really nice experience for us as a small brand to style someone.
This was a highlight for our...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a good one.
This was a highlight of our journey, basically, because it was just out of the blue and he called us up and he's like, hey, I love your work. And we I won this outfit for one of my, movie releases that I'm doing for a film festival. And I just want to get an outfit made from you. And it just happened all of a sudden. So when we talk about sustainable fashion, we do not like to keep ourselves restricted to just clothes. Since we're talking about the entire brand aesthetic and our brand ethos, our ethical values are deeply rooted right from the very making of our brand. When it comes to the sampling and production process, when it comes to packaging, branding, marketing, selling a product, developing a personal connection with customers, even after a product has been sold, when it comes to DIYing your entire way, if you're popping up at an exhibition, if you're doing a show, when it comes to once the production stage has been done, just collecting scraps in general and sort of repurposing and upcycling all of that into something that can be made into a product in the future. I forgot to mention. So the tags that you see right in front of you are actually seed paper tags. So seeds are embedded in them. So we usually note our prices on these tags. And once you're taking out the tag out of the garment, you place it in a pot in the soil and you water it and a sapling is going to come out of it. So we kind of have these on our stationery as well, which is pretty cool because we had a couple people telling us that this is such a great idea of actually giving back to nature. And we are still continuing with this even now. Also, we're branching out in terms of product range, in terms of collaborating with ceramic and pottery artists. We're making handmade ceramics with them and also painting them, giving it a personal touch. We have sustainable stationery, as you can see in front of you. There's a seed paper journal made out of, the inside pages are made out of recycled paper, and it's been hand painted. We've got upcycled accessories like belts and fabric pouches and wallets and scarves. All of it has been made from post-production scrap.
Yeah, so everyday conscious habits. So we picked up some things while on our journey, and we learned a lot from being a sustainable entrepreneur, and that is that we know how to reuse some of the things like paper scraps, fabric leftover, and we turn it into pouches, and like people really like putting their knickknacks into it. Care labels, thank you cards, they're all made out of waste paper. As you saw, the journals as well, they are made out of waste paper as well, so it's pretty cool. And we try and keep all of our packaging plastic free, and we collect all of our post production scraps and make collections out of it, future collections, use it for bindings and things like that. And whatever we cannot use, we send it to our fellow brands. Some of our friends have their own sustainable studios and they know how to use it better, so we like to share whatever we have rather than it going to waste. And plus we DIY all of our event decor, such as using wooden planks for signs and those fruit crates to use as an extra space, creating a table out of it, and making paper banner and things like that. And if you want to have a look at it, please come to our next event. It'll be fun for sure.
So, all right, that was pretty much what we wanted to talk about about our sustainable journey. If you are a fellow collaborator, if you're a fellow creator, we'd love to hear from you about anything that you want to work with us for. If you have any ideas you want to brainstorm us with when it comes to fashion, sustainability, ethical living, just hit us up on Facebook, email, Instagram. The credentials are right there, and we'd love to hear from you. So, yeah, voila.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gunjan, Trisha. This was a super insightful presentation. Especially like now that we see sustainable or sustainability as a word thrown around so much, it was really like great to have like a first-hand experience of your journey that you shared with us. And yeah, I think it was super great. Like these kind of things, like they have a lot to do with personal value systems of people. And like you guys also said, like even people like Apar Shakti or other people, they reach out to themselves if they resonate with what you guys are doing, and definitely reflects in every operation that you carry under the name of Wayne Studio. Super amazing presentation. Thank you again. I'm just going to look through the chat to see for any comments or any questions.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, people are really big fans of the idea of using seed papers as tags and like just cards or something like that. I think I also personally thought it was a really cool idea. Super thoughtful.
Thank you so much, you guys.
People are saying people love how the whole product journey is so thought over before getting into the design process. Is also what I've observed during your presentation. Like normally everyone has a tendency to dive right into creating something or designing something per se, but with you guys it's there is a lot of pretext and there's more thought behind the reason to create whatever needs to be created. So thank you for great presentation. Is the sustainable design expensive is one big question out there. Like how do you control the price point to get it to more number of people probably?
See, of course, since we also talked about the challenges of being a sustainable entrepreneur, it will be expensive at the very beginning. Yes, it will be a little costly as and when you also create, because when it comes to sustainability, you have to take care of a lot of things during the process. You have to take care of your tailors and pattern makers being paid fairly. You have to take care of the materials that you're using. They're supposed to be matching up to your quality standards. And you cannot really go back on the price just because you're selling something. We keep our margins pretty low. So yes, I wouldn't say our products are really, really expensive. Our price ranges from 2,500 and goes up to 8 to 9K. That's the maximum. But yes, we try to keep everything under control and check so that even people who cannot really afford it can also probably get something from us.
Great, great. Sounds super fair. Sushant is asking, how do you guys keep up with the trends? Like fashion trends seem like they die out every 2 months or even lesser probably. So do you guys have like a parallel trend forecasting that goes on in the sustainable clothing sector, or do you guys still stick to the standard industry forecasting?
Actually, when you think about it, we actually don't stick to trends at all because we feel like
Okay.
our collections are very seasonless. We do not want to stick to the traditional retail calendar that everyone follows and sort of create collections by the season. We want our collections to be worn even after the season's over, even after, like, you're way ahead into the future. You'll still want to wear that stuff because it's super timeless, it's super classic, and it just needs to stick with you, because also that's what sustainability is all about. You do not want to throw something after 2 or 3 wears.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, just putting it out there. You could probably stop sharing a screen if you want. Like,
Yes.
I think that would be fine. One more question was: was there like a difference in your overall approach after the whole COVID situation, in terms of marketing or just working with your sourcing or suppliers? Like, what were the challenges probably specific to this COVID period that you guys faced?
Actually, so we are on a little hiatus as of now. We are sitting and ideating as to what we need to be creating during this very period, because we do not want fashion to be on the forefront. And for that, we want to create something really meaningful. So we're looking forward to more collaborations with artists, more brands, more creators, more innovators. And we want to bring it that design expertise from all areas and all walks of life. And we want to create something that's meaningful. So it doesn't just need to be restricted to clothes. It can be anything and everything. And that's what we're also looking forward to.
Okay.
So as for challenges, the only challenge is that creativity needs to sort of blend in with the current scenario.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. A couple more questions. How do you convince your audience that going for a sustainable product is worth spending on for the greater good? Probably, yeah, like just what could probably be that tipping point for most of your audience turned consumers to get on board with you guys? Like what makes them want to buy your things?
I
Or
would say personal conversations. I would say you need to educate you. Sorry,
we lost you there for a bit.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All good.
Okay. I would say personal conversations would be the tipping point for us.
Okay.
We are all ears to, converse about anything and everything. We want to spread the word about us being there, being sustainable, being ethical. We do not just want to be, true in the face about sustainability, that, oh, we're a sustainable brand, oh, we're doing everything ethically, oh, we've got ethical products. Oh, we just don't want to do that. We want to also spread the message about how the world is shaping up when it comes to agreeing on the idea of sustainability. So I would say also educate yourself if you don't know a lot. Just maybe research on other brands that are also doing the same thing. Because if you would understand what they're also doing, you'd kind of relate to what we are also doing and see, how it's also impacting you in the long run.
Super interesting point to actually have a more personal connection with the people who are looking at your things. Yeah, just another question from my side was, like, in the whole fashion world, like, you see influencer marketing playing like a very important role in selling things, like just getting things off of the shelf. Do you think the same things apply for a sustainable clothing label as well? Like, do you think people still opt for being influenced per se by influencer marketing?
To some extent, I think. We haven't, like, with Upper Shakti Khurana, he wore some of our clothes. We even sent out press kits. But I think what matters is that when people come to our page and interact with us, how we can convince them that, yeah, what is sustainability and why is it better than fast fashion? That's what matters. We can get them to the page, but ultimately it's us who have to sell it.
Cool. So we'll just take probably one last quick question, and then you guys, you and Trisha, could probably head over to the chat to see the questions that we've missed out on or something that pop up later on. So one question was, what are the kind of materials that you guys are upcycling apart from fabric and paper? Are there any different kinds of materials that you guys use in your upcycling process, probably?
Threads. We use threads. Yeah, we upcycle that.
Yarn, threads.
Yeah.
Actually, we also, so the thing is that right when we were working in the fashion industry with our own individual jobs,
So yeah, we are all having problems with the internet today. The word was back all over the place. So yeah, probably you guys can probably answer this question in chat, and whoever has more doubts, please feel free to get in touch with Gunjan and Trisha. I'm sure they'll be glad to help you guys, give you more insights. And yeah, thank you again, Gunjan and Trisha. It was a super amazing presentation. Yeah, so we can move on to Navneeth, who's going to be our next presenter.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Navneeth. I'm the program director at Artem Energy. We are a fleet mobility startup that's focused on electric vehicles. But today I just wanted to sort of share with you my sort of hobby or interest, let's say, which is modeling on Grasshopper, because Grasshopper, to me, I mean, to the ones who are uninitiated when it comes to algorithmic or parametric modeling, it's a visual scripting based modeling approach towards CAD and 3D modeling, where you don't think about 3D volumes or forms in the same way. You're thinking about it in terms of a process. And it's this process that can lead to some very unexpected sort of forms or some surprises here and there that you might be able to, develop further into something interesting. Otherwise, of course, standard issue for using Grasshopper obviously are like patterns that are being used in the industry constantly, gradients and whatnot. It works really well with laser cutting and other such production techniques, 3D printing, of course. But the reason why I picked up Grasshopper was mainly because I have a feeling that there is a huge potential going forward with growth algorithms and simulating nature in a way. So biomimicry and bio-inspired design in general. I think those kind of design approaches really require an algorithm-based approach rather than a direct modeling sort of way of looking at design, not just modeling, but also design. So I just want to sort of share a few things that I've done here and there, and how you can also sort of start picking it up and start exploring a few different things. So to start off with, Lexus makes some really complex looking grills, and I sort of wanted to try my hand at how we can replicate something like that in terms, because doing this grill that you see on the screen using a traditional modeling approach would probably drive you mad. Because I mean, it's honestly a lot of work in terms of getting all the individual surfaces aligned. And even if you do follow, like, create a bunch of curves and start lofting all of that stuff, it's going to take you time. But like this, for instance, probably took about half an hour at max to model using an algorithmic approach. So this is sort of where, this is the interface that you would see with Grasshopper. Obviously, it's a little bit more colorful on Rhino. So here we're basically starting out with inputting a surface that sort of follows the form of the general structure of this. And then you pretty much first need to reconstruct the surface so that all the UVs are aligned properly. And then you basically divide it up into vertical segments and horizontal and vertical segments that follow the curvature of the surface itself, so that it's dynamic. If you were to just change the input surface, the pattern would change automatically. So if you were to pull this point inwards on your surface that you create on Rhino, the entire sort of algorithm changes to adapt accordingly. Over here, we're sort of just splitting all of these and creating rectangles essentially, and creating a scaled version of it based on what you call an attractor point. So an attractor point is pretty much like a magnet to geometry. So if you have a bunch of curves that are sitting somewhere, you have an attractor point, and you can vary the scale of it, you can vary the distance of it, another rotation, whatnot. The possibilities are literally endless when it comes to this. The Grasshopper library for all the tools are pretty massive, but then again, there are like an impossible number of plugins that you can get for free from places like Food for Rhino and the Grasshopper 3D forums, where you can again augment the capabilities of what you can do. I really recommend that you guys explore it, because there is no way that I can cover everything that you can do with Grasshopper in just a 10-minute quick presentation. So here's another thing that I sort of tried making. I was really inspired by the Bentley Continental headlights that came out, and they were using cut crystal and whatnot. But I wanted to see, like, how on earth do you model something like that? On Alias, it would probably take a week to do something like this in terms of getting all the variations in distance, scaling, all of that right. But in this particular case, I just wrote one algorithm. All you have to input is this outer curve and the inner curve. That's the absolute depth of it, and just based on that, you can get this pattern. So you see these two. This one over here took me a minute to model. All I had to do was model the outside curve and the inside curve, plug it into the algorithm, and this came out. So it's honestly pretty cool what you can do with a script. I mean, once you write a script, you can make infinite variations out of it, right? So yeah, I mean, it's not even a very complex sort of script. And yeah, this is what I was talking about. It's a little bit more colorful, still extremely dry to most people, but it's still something. I mean, once you start speaking the language in a way, it becomes natural. Like you know, like what the next steps need to be, and you sort of start breaking down algorithms in your head. This is another grill that was done using the same thing. Again, inspired by Lexus, trying to capture that vibe. A few different wheel ideas. Again, all of these are done entirely on Grasshopper. Everything from the actual tires itself, you can see sort of how there's a difference in scaling happening from one edge to the other. And even within this, you can see that this is completely customizable, by the way, like just a few sliders here and there, and you can get pretty much infinite variations on this particular wheel that you see. Again, everything rendered on Keyshot. This is actually it's interesting, and I will show you a quick demo on how to do something like this on Grasshopper. It looks super complicated, but believe me, like 3 or 4 steps, and you can get something like this. I don't think it's going to take more than like a minute and a half or 2 minutes. I'll show you this in a bit after this particular presentation. Again, a variation of the same grill. A bunch of growth algorithms and jewelry design. Again, before I forget, a huge shout out to Creative Mutation on Instagram. I think Aman, who might actually be online, not sure. Going back to this Lexus grill, This is what I had initially, and I was breaking my head trying to figure out how to do the fillets on this, and Aman was the one who helped. And I think when it comes to learning Grasshopper, it's the community that's going to support you, because a lot of these people do it just as a hobby, like I do, and everybody is willing to help out. So if any one of you wants to get into it, please feel free to reach out. Yeah, jewelry design, like I was saying, something futuristic. Again, these are growth algorithms. So you just add like one curve and it grows into this. And it's really cool to watch the process as well. I'm not sure why the clarity is so bad, but yeah, it's this was sort of an architect from the UK had sort of contacted me and said he wanted a roof structure done with sort of molded plexiglass windows and whatnot, and the inner structure. So this is kind of what I tried getting out of it. Again, you can see the variation in the thickness from one side to the other. It's really fun to do. Now, coming to how you can get into this. The number one thing that any of you can do is go out and get this book. It's by Arturo Tedeschi. He is an Italian architect slash designer slash computational designer who wrote the book. It's called Algorithms Aided Design, and it has everything. It covers all the concepts related to this, and it gets into some pretty advanced stuff that, honestly speaking, I have not reached. But it's a really nice book. It's very well laid out, and I really recommend that you read the book first before you jump into any of this. YouTube is your best friend, obviously. Almost all of the concepts are, I mean, anything that you might have in mind is probably already done by someone or the other. So you can probably just search for some keyword, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find a tutorial video somewhere. It's a bunch of channels that do this, and I think you can just start out with YouTube. But before that, if you just know the basics from the book, it helps. Now, Grasshopper can get super complicated. This is one of the algorithms that I found on one of the Grasshopper forums. This was written by a jewelry designer, and this basically outputs rings, complete rings, that are ready for 3D printing that can be used for, again, casting, metal casting, right? So yeah, I mean, after a while, it becomes like writing a story in a way. And I think it's that approach towards design and modeling that fascinates me about Grasshopper, because once you start understanding what each element does, it's about putting it together to get a flow of information from one end to the other, and watching it sort of transform like that. It's honestly amazing, and I think the possibilities with this are virtually endless. And I think all of you should definitely try it out. If you have Rhino, it comes in built in with Rhino, and I think you can start exploring with that. Now, to quickly get to Rhino, this is the form that I was talking about, and I'll just show you how to quickly model this. So Rhino comes with a bunch. I mean, Rhino comes with Grasshopper. You can find it over here. It says launch Grasshopper. This is the Grasshopper window that opens up. Generally recommend splitting your screen. And once you do, you can basically go to, for this particular thing, I was just messing around and trying to find a bunch of stuff. And within the Lunchbox plugin, I found something called the client surface, which is this, which is already like half the work done. Now, all you need to do is add something called triangle panels. You add it to the surface. You start creating sliders, which are basically your inputs for how many. I mean, it's literally just a number value that gets entered into this, right? So you can sort of see like how that changes instantly, and you can get that. Now all you need to do is add bytes. And I need to add 0.9. Yeah, so just that much, about that should work. This should take a little while to sort of compute. Yeah, fair warning, Grasshopper is really, really harsh on your CPU. Especially it uses a single thread. So again, it can get super weird. But for the most part, it should work. You just need to give it time. In this particular case, you can sort of see that's done. So all you need to do is right click on it, hit bake, uh, layer 1 for that, and the panels go on layer 3, why not? Yeah. So now all I need to do is right click and disable that. And if I go here, yeah, that's done. So that virtually took no time at all. Obviously, it was a little bit of cheating with a pre-built surface. But the thing is, you can plug in whatever surface you want into this, and it will output, a variation of the same. And I think that's sort of the workflow. I mean, once you get used to it, it's super, super fast to do. And I think that's the fun part of it, right? In the sense that things you expect to take a long time can be done quite quickly. So yeah, just to recap, it's algorithm-based modeling approach that sort of requires a little bit of, rewiring your brain to think about modeling in a different way. And I think it's super fun to explore. And again, invite you guys to try it out. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can always find help on the forums. Otherwise, you can definitely hit me up on Instagram or on the Discord server itself, and I can sort of help out a little bit as well. So that's all from my end. Thank you, guys.
So yeah, Navneeth, that was a super, super crisp presentation. And then to me, this stuff looked like magic when you were modeling. Super nice. The cool part was there was an ongoing question as you were presenting
Right.
about like how do you just start to want to explore with Grasshopper. And I think it was pretty cool that you covered that point in the later part of your presentation by giving the references of the book by AAD and by Arturo.
Yeah.
And also some other links for tutorials and stuff. I think that was a really big question that many people asked. Another question was, one second. Yeah. So does Grasshopper compute the feasibility of production, like just strengths or more technicalities of how probably different materials are interacting with each other or stuff like that? Or do you have to take care of that after doing the whole algorithmic part of the modeling?
So to sort of answer that, I'm pretty sure that Grasshopper can actually do that. There are certain algorithms related to taking into account stresses and sort of generating the structure accordingly. It's the other way around, to be very honest. Like you pre-compute the stresses using traditional methods, then you plug it into an algorithm that sort of gives you the best way to do it. It's a little bit like what Fusion does also, right? And I think this is, you have much more control over it. It's again, I think it will take a lot more time. But for example, something like this, I'm pretty sure you should be able to export it to an analysis software later on to study it, whatnot. Yeah.
Cool. The question was, how essential is the role of Python on Grasshopper? Is one question that popped up.
To be very honest, I haven't explored Python or C within Grasshopper, but the thing is you can, and even with RhinoScript or Python or any of the the coding softwares, you can write your own tools in a way. Like if you feel like any of the tools that you already have or any of the plugins that you already have are not doing what you want it to do, you can always use Python.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People are really curious to see the output of the complex code that you had shown earlier.
Well, I'd have to find it. I'll try to share it on the Discord channel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of appreciative comments. People are all up and
Thanks.
announce about things that you've been doing. Super cool, really cool stuff, masterpiece. People are referring to this structure that you just built as the YDI HQ. That's super cool. Um, One second.
What CPU are you using? Yeah, I'm using
Yeah.
I'm using AMD Ryzen 3900X. Yeah, Sushant. Yeah, definitely an AMD fan.
How long did it take you to get familiar with Grasshopper, or just get used to
Yeah,
working with this?
I actually started out with Grasshopper while I was still in design school. So about 2016, 17, that's when I sort of started exploring this. And there was the whole project that I did called Symmetry. You can find it on Behance. That sort of shows, the first steps that I took towards this, creating textures and whatnot. Since then, it's been an ongoing process. I recently picked up Grasshopper beginning of this year, and that's when I did most of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a matter of that switch sort of turning on or turning off in your brain that sort of makes you rethink the way that you're thinking about a 3D form and how you achieve that using modeling. Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Super interesting stuff. Thanks a lot, Navneeth, for sharing your process with us and also the demo. I think it was super interesting to have a live demo.
Of course.
And yeah, I think you can head over to chat, and I'm sure there are more questions popping up,
Yeah.
which you will be able to answer on chat. And we can probably move on to the next presentation, which will be the last one for today, which will be conducted by Sushant. And yeah, on to you, Sushant.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Prathamesh. Thanks for also being the host and being really patient with all the questions. Just a quick introduction. So I am Sushant. I am the creator of the YDI thingy. But the underlying message is that I'm really grateful to have 85 people on board, looking at all the crazy presentations. So big shout out to Trisha, Gunjan, and obviously Navneeth for showing really cool stuff. Cool. On my end, I'm an industrial designer. I'm going to talk about my experience designing with limitations. Hopefully you can see my screen. If not, then at least you'll have me blabbing without my screen. But so recently, I've been trying to look back at the things that I learned from the stuff that I did. I've been becoming more conscious of the tricks that I picked up from the past, from my previous projects, from my previous internships and workplaces. And I thought it'd be really cool to tell you guys about one of my freelance projects. This project is going to be more about things that I learned while doing a pair of headphones. So these two guys found me on Behance, literally sent me an email saying that they got the sound down and they want a kick-ass pair of headphones. But the thing was, the whole company was literally these two guys. That's it, two people wanting to design a pair of headphones. That's not how it works, right? So obviously I hit them up with, you got to do user studies. So of course we agreed to work together, but I was very adamant on, having a user in mind, looking at the market, sort of figuring out where does your pair of headphones fit in a very saturated industry. And without wasting any time, I quickly delved into sketching. I realized very quickly that they're not like a huge client, like who's used to seeing concepts and used to just taking the best call. Since they're small, their best call is often limited by what they can do easily. Sometimes there'll be trade-offs between what's easy to do and what's the best to do. So I thought the best way to tackle this would be through presenting design principles before I even get to concepts. So there were questions about customizable headband, let's say. So every time I would think about a concept like this, I'll show them 4 different options to do. So on the left, you'll see different options to make the adjustments on a headphone or the transformation on a headphone. And of course, there's aesthetic sketching. Everybody does that in industrial design. We do a lot of sketch work to showcase our concepts or just the visual aesthetic of what we are going for. And at the end, I presented them with 5 concepts. But that's a pretty standard design process, where you sketch, you come up with some ideas here and there, and you come up with, let's say, concepts. It's a pair of headphones, so I didn't need to reinvent the whole wheel. Like we know how it looks like, and we sort of had a good idea about rough dimensions, let's say. Was made better because they told me that they had a driver of a certain size. That the driver, for those of you who don't know, is the speaker that goes inside these headphones. But here's where the fun really begins, because one would think that CAD is when you finalize stuff, but CAD is actually where we started the real ideation. So if you see the sketch on the top right, that's sort of one of the first iterations of what actually became the end result of the headphones. We are looking at every element of the headphones, from headband to the yoke to the cups and just everything. You'll see some images that are they look fairly the same, especially like the one on the top in the middle. Those cups are actually all different. If you notice the curves on the cups, like as they are, some of them are tapering, some of them are more straight. So the 3 cups you see are more of a progression that we did. So I think the attention to detail here was the most crucial part. And the fact that my clients were also on the hunt for making a really well-designed pair of headphones helped this. Had they not have this sort of goal in their mind, we'd probably gone for something that's probably the first iteration of one of these. So just want to reiterate that 3D for me is like the starting point, and then it goes on to, I guess, months of exploration. Just a quick summary of how we basically looked at every part. The pattern that you see on the cup is basically, at the end, it became a CNC milled out grill. But it started off as a visual thing. We were like, okay, the headphone is going to be called Erupt. And the whole idea was, can we show something that's erupting from the surface of the headphone? So that's just an abstract way of thinking about things. Meanwhile, as you see some of the sketches on top, those were, or the other renders on the top, those were actually elements like the yoke, like the headband, like the transition points and all those things, all designed and tried to come up with different principles throughout the project. The attention to detail never goes away. So even looking at the pattern, I think both there was equal push from the client, and at one point there was equal push for me as well to just deliver the best. Like we never settled for like things that could have been better. Like when you do a pattern, you're like, okay, this works, but hey, can I do better than this? So of course, our initial strategies were to use like an image, and then that image would be used to, or a gradient circle sort of used to drive the spheres, the circles on the grill. But very soon we realized we had to use Grasshopper. So shout out again to Grasshopper. What we did was we wrote an algorithm, pretty simple algorithm, and Navneeth is probably going to laugh at this, but the whole idea is to have 2 curves, 2 closed curves, sort of describe where the cutouts are becoming smaller and larger. And this was needed because the CNC machine can only go so small when they're CNCing out a hole on a certain thickness of aluminum. So having those limitations in mind helped us a lot to sort of train the algorithm, not even train, actually just write the algorithm in a way that the smallest circle could be of a certain size and the biggest has to be of a certain size. And of course, this was all changeable. Same sort of detail went into headbands. This is just like maybe 1/5 of the work that I'm showing you. But here, it was important to go the distance, like to push to the weird category. So some of the sketches that you see on the bottom left, those are things that are probably never going to make. They probably also look ugly, but it was important to go through that process to tell my client and me that this is not going to happen. And also so that they build a more stronger image of the headphone in their head, because they had never really designed a pair of headphones before. When you're working with small-time clients, it's important to work with people that you know, and also maybe friends, like maybe buy in some favors. So this that you see on your screen, 4 headbands were done by, I think, the web designers. So they hired a web designer to design stuff for them, the PR part of it. It was the web designer's girlfriend who could sew, and we got her to basically sew up some headbands, head cushions. They look ugly, but they really helped us sort of map out the missing pieces of the headphones, because The guys had a CNC machine in their shop, and they were well on their way to doing quick prototypes like this. This is also the way we communicated. Again, the point I want to make is like when you're working with small time clients, they are more than willing to get their hands dirty. If you send them a 3D file and they want to test it out, more often than not, they will 3D print it and they will show you, hey, this does not work. Can you fix it? So if you see the images over here, the good news was they had a CNC machine. So of course, not everybody has a CNC machine. Also, they had the 3D printer, which many people might not have, but I was in luck there. They also had an engineering background. So it wasn't that they were hardcore engineers, but again, having some expertise is better than none. This is the way we communicated. I'll send them files, they'll print them, tell me what works, what doesn't work. I could also see, the limitations of the methods they had. 3D printing is not the best for seeing these minute holes and stuff. So we tried to do it on metal, see how it looks. Slowly, our prototypes became better. The pair was supposed to be designed for gamers. And the idea was to, or at least the visual idea was to not use any RGBs, no flashy elements, just a simple kick-ass pair of headphones. And just to have some character to it, we wanted it to have the feeling of a volcano erupting. And that's where the idea of putting acoustic fabric underneath the grill came in. Again, it's an open back pair of headphones. For those of you who don't know what an open back pair is, these are the pair of headphones that basically let air in and out. So you can hear a little bit of the surroundings while you're wearing it, as opposed to the ones that are closed back, which basically sort of try to create almost a vacuum around your ears. And then again, there's other categories like hybrid back and things like that. Anyway, you'll see on the right side, the image looks really wonky, but that's one of the first pair of headphones that we actually had in our hand. And that was a big accomplishment. This is one of my favorite pictures because the first time we put the headphone together, the headband, or rather the tubes on the top, they were gigantic. It was for an Einstein head. But it's the encouragement that you get from making a product like this and people using it. So this is actually one of the guys who's part of the company. He was excited that, holy shit, we have a pair of headphones. Slowly, our processes became better. Our final result, the cup designs and all, they started to be more refined. We started getting rid of a lot of the junk that we were doing. We probably didn't want to do customizable headbands and rotatable joints because we didn't feel like there was a huge need to go to that distance for our first pair of headphones. So again, the limitations came in, and I think we were very, let's say, I guess, on board with tackling those limitations. Meanwhile, on my end, I was doing renderings because this was supposed to be launched online, and they needed my help as well to communicate the message, the product, and the different parts of the design. Suddenly, the pictures also started becoming much better. Parts came in from China, so they got the headband done from China. The cups and everything were all done in-house. And yeah, we also didn't want to go for an overly gamer-oriented marketing. I think it was a mixed bag between media headphones as well as you can play with these headphones, but at the same time, the branding and the name there actually resonates more with gamers. But then again, the whole idea was to not go with overly flashy lights and stuff. Again, just some images that we used for PR. Here, the funny thing is that Jude has a massive head. So that's what we figured out. So the guy on the left, he's actually squishing the headphones. Like, he has a massive head, and he was probably not the right person to test the pair of headphones on. So the earlier time when we put the headphones on him, you can imagine how big that pair of headphones would have been if the actual size looks that stretched. Then the moment came. We wanted to launch the product online. This is one of the GIFs, or like a picture that the client sent over to me because they were ready for it. They were ready for action. And I was ready for action. I felt like a part of the family then. We put it out on Kickstarter. And I think within a week, we raised around $10,000 to $15,000. And I say we, in the sense, like, because I felt a part of the family. I'm not a part of the company. I was just helping them. So in a week, we had around $10,000 or $12,000 from friends and family and the early backers. And then another week, there was absolutely no change. The guys were tired. There were sleepless nights, answering questions, doing a lot of PR stuff, getting some influencers or testers, reviewers to try out the products and maybe put the word out, because we really hope that all of this struggle wasn't a waste. And then this was a silver lining. If you guys don't know Z-Reviews is a very well-respected audio reviewer. That's audio equipment reviewer. He does tons of, and his videos are super brutal honest. If he doesn't like stuff, he's gonna say it, and if he likes stuff, he's gonna, praise the hell out of it. We were lucky enough to have a very positive review from Z-Reviews right in the second week of our Kickstarter. And then before we knew it, we, I think, not only crossed the goal of $50,000 US, it went on to raise 4 times more, so above $250,000. So his review trickled down to more online reviews, people talking about the headphones and so on. And little did we know we had to make 600 pair of headphones. So I was involved again, tweaking small things here and there, because the processes would have worked for like 10 headphones, 100 headphones, but now we're making 600 pairs, right? And people want different colors, different paint finishes, and I wanted to be involved as well, just so that they don't butcher it, they don't give a finish that really doesn't work. Finally, in 2019, I get to see the pair of headphones in my hand, and that was probably one of the most satisfying feeling, because you worked on something for so long. I think this project lasted 1.5 years, and then finally I get to see it in my hands. I took some pictures with it, and I was really amazed with the quality that they were able to achieve with their first ever pair of headphones. It's not usual for companies with their first products to come up with that quality. Okay, so all of this experience, what did this tell me? This is the end of the presentation. So if meanwhile you have any questions, feel free to drop it in. So the first thing for me is we got to be really clear as designers. Errors will cost money, especially to startups who do not have any money. If you're making mistakes, that's going to cost them money. That's going to basically, even though you're part of the family, even though you're just very tightly knit group of client designer family, it's not gonna look well if they're losing money because they hired you. So you want to be clear. So this is a picture of the files we sent to China with, like, I think a huge document and a video of what we wanted. Luckily it worked out, but you have to go the distance and really tell them where the speckles are, where the branding is, how much of an emboss do we want, and so on. Secondly, you're going to make the most of what you have. What I'm trying to say is, like, of course, there were trade-offs that we made. There were some, I would have loved for them to go for high-end manufacturing processes, even use some materials that are better than, let's say, aluminum and plastic in this case. But they had a CNC machine. And the best thing I could do was to empower them to make a prototype literally the next day in their garage. So when I look to empower my clients, what I'm telling them is that, hey, you know what, I've done my design part, but we are a team. Let's build this together. And we can build this together without you having to worry about money, equipment, people who to collaborate with, and so on. You can do it tomorrow in your warehouse. So yeah, I think that's an important takeaway for me. Like so even today I'm thinking of the people I'm collaborating with, especially on the smaller scale, how can I empower them to feel that they can make things, build things, and then get closer to the final goal. Then the next point is that you're an equal member of the team. Just because you are a freelancer or somebody who is not a part of the company doesn't mean that you should not take on responsibility. I think you have enough responsibility. If this fails, you should feel like you're going to fail. Not in a sense that this is the end of the world, but in a way that this reflects badly on your part as well. Of course, there are some clients that love driving the project in their own direction, but the best efforts obviously come together when you're all equally responsible. And secondly, as you see in the picture, clients that are willing to get their hands dirty are definitely the ones you want to work with. You don't want to work with clients who want everything to be outsourced and done, finished, and not have any of their say in it. I think it's nice when clients collaborate equally. No, if not equally, then at least have them come in at, I guess, the important opportunities. But yeah, again, if you are lucky enough to find clients that are willing and are willing to go above and beyond to make your products come to life or make your designs come to life, then of course, work with them. And lastly, as I was looking back, I figured out that you got to take shitloads of pictures. I was lucky enough to have this sort of exchange. I think, and the big reveal is that I have never been in the same country as them throughout the course of the past 1.5, or not the past, sorry, throughout the course of the project. When the whole project was finished is when I finally saw the product and met them. So that was in 2019, seeing the product for the first time. And they were kind of nervous also, and I was nervous because I didn't know what the impact was, or if they were happy, if I was happy. Because of course, we had this relationship, but again, it's then the business comes into play. So they were nervous enough to show. They were kind of nervous, and they said that, hey, you know what? I don't know if it did justice to your design stuff. Like, we kind of did what the best we could. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Seeing a product that I've designed from 0 to 100 come to life. I think that I was just instantly taken aback. So in a very positive way. But yeah, having those interactions over pictures helps a lot. Having videos of what works, what doesn't work helps a lot. Documenting your process helped me a lot to compile this presentation in the future to tell a story. And also for my personal growth as well, looking at what could I have done better and what can I learn from what I've done. And yes, thank you. This project can be viewed on my website or on Behance, or you can even search for Walkill Erupts. The funny thing is they're really bad at shipping. So if the product launched in 2019, early 2019, they're still shipping right now. I think they're done with like 80% of the headphones in the hands of people. And then there's still like, I think around 50 to 75 pairs that need to be shipped out. But I think they weren't expecting a response like this. Since for a company that was expecting to reach a $50,000 goal, for them to go on and above and make 5 times more, that's just another kind of pressure that they're in. And yeah, I was lucky enough to be a part of the journey, and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have. Cool.
Cool, man. That was a super amazing presentation, Sushant. Super end-to-end. Very descriptive as well, and shows that how dedicated and well invested you were for this project. And the part I like most was like it included parts of doing good design plus having good designer ethics as well. I think that was a really nice touch. And yeah, we have many appreciations. We have some questions as well. To start with, like for this project, did the client take care of the engineering part on this, or how did the dynamic work between you two?
So engineering is a pretty broad term, right? If you're talking about the sound and acoustic balances, yes, they took care of it. If you talk about the mechanical parts, that was all me. Even the headphone idea of the stretchy headband thing, I literally told them, let's sandwich it in between 2 pieces, stitch them together, have a piece just to see if it works or not. Of course, their final call was which screws to use and where to put the ribs and things like that. But on the acoustic side, their responsibility, making and imagining the whole thing, my responsibility. And even if there were things that I couldn't understand fully, I had to go online, figure out what I can propose to them that makes the most sense.
I see. Cool. A question from my end as well. Mm-hmm. Did you also work on the branding part of this project?
Yeah, I was involved in it. I didn't do the final logo mark. I had a big say in it. We had if you see on this image, we have a different logo. This is one of the first few trials. We collaborated with someone, but I was particular enough to have the right kind of branding done for the project. But I wouldn't say that I did the exact typeface and the logo mark.
I see. Cool. And people are interested in knowing how these guys got in touch with you. Like, how did they just find you for this project?
Right.
It could be insightful for some.
Literally through Behance. One of the guys found my work on Behance, sent me an email because he thought that I was pretty big into the gaming world and I had only done one successful project. And by successful, I mean more in terms of like online successful, where you get featured and you get blogs to post about you, things like that. So I think he had the perception that I'm more of expert or even like had some expertise in gaming related equipment. And by the way, this was all before my Astro tenure. It was during the time I was in Kiska, so I had no background in all of this, and I don't think I put any audio project online. So Behance and then email.
Cool, man. Were there any legal ramifications for working like offshore? There's more process-oriented stuff, I think.
No, there was no trouble whatsoever. They will basically always send me an individual independent designer contract. Basically, if you're an independent creator, they'll have a contract for that. They'll sign you up, and you can work as an individual. You don't have to have a private limited. And again, the only issue was that when they would transfer you money, I used PayPal, and for those of you who know, PayPal will take a massive cut out of your money. So that's the only issue.
Another question that I thought of was price point and was it an important factor throughout the design process, like the end price of what this product should be sold at?
Yeah, I think there was definitely a high limit of not going above $500, but there was no low limit. There was, I think they wanted to make it approachable and premium at the same time, just like any other company. Basically, it's like, oh, it should look premium, but should not be like $50 for the pair. And then it's just basically like, but we have to keep it cheap as well. So like kind of have to find a balance. But yeah, I think in the start they said anywhere from 200 to 500 is fine, which is a pretty big range to work with. Like anything above 200 is from Indian standards, from like middle class standards, that's already expensive and high end. But yeah, headphone world is crazy. You can get a pair for like more than $2,000 and it'll have nothing but wood and crappy sound on it. It's a different story.
Cool. Again, there are a lot of questions regarding your specific process of design, your rendering techniques, and just work ethic in general. I'm sure like people are gonna reach out to you personally for that. I encourage them to. Probably you can just read the chat and answer some more questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll be in the chat.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, these were the 3 presentations that we had today. Super interesting turnout as well. Thank you for all of you guys to tune in. Super happy with the turnout. Just to close today's session, this whole design WIP thing is just one platform that we are trying to build slowly with the help of you guys and the rest of the community, to have like a more collective get together every month, so that we can somehow just come on the same page sometime and just share or talk about new things. And we're also considering all of the great responses and ideas that we have been seeing on the server from you guys, like having portfolio reviews and live streams, individual streams by people, etc. And we're thinking of as many possibilities, like keeping it as versatile as possible, getting as many different genres of presentations and design work to show and share with everyone, to be as inclusive as possible in the showcasing of work. And the cool part is it's not only about like showing high quality stuff, like we are also gonna probably have themes devoted for giving feedback or showing student work and things like that. But there's definitely a lot more to come in future regarding virtual events on this community. And yeah, as you guys can also see, we are already 700 people on the community. It's a very steady expansion. Super happy about it. And we've also been slightly observant about who we are trying to let in on the server. So just by asking any introduction and just probably their motivation and aspiration as designers, just gives us more input about the kind of people that are coming together to shape this community, because in the end it's like a collective effort from all of us. And yeah, I think that's about it for this WIP. Thank you again for all of you guys to tune in. Thank you for the speakers mainly Today's presentations were super insane. I think we are all going back with a lot of inspiration and motivation to kick off next week and start working again probably. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys. We'll probably sign off for now.